This is another episode of Dollar Store Cinema. My name is Thomas, and this month's episode is about the movie When the Game Stands Tall, and it is starring Jim Caviezel. I felt like this was a perfect time to do it because he is currently in public consciousness through his new movie that he's starring in. He's getting his Jack Bauer on, hunting down sex traffickers, with Angel Studios producing. But I think he's most known for being Jesus in Passion of the Christ. He plays a head coach for the Spartans, who have had over years a record of 151, I believe, and 0. The thing I like about the movie is that it starts off showing the gravity of the streaks compared to other instances in sports. And LaSalle is basically the team to beat for like 6 years, to the point where in their conference, people don't even want to play with them anymore. They're like, yo, how can you be winning for so long without cheating? Like, it's been the past 11 straight years, so over a decade. This movie is a period film that takes place in like the early 2000s. And I feel like this movie does a really good job of setting the scene. They have the highlights, and it feels, I don't believe they actually used highlights until later in the film, but like the way they filmed it, it felt like it was somebody who took out a camera and started recording the games. The start is right before the state championship, where they could possibly win a title for the 12th straight year. And Coach Bob, played by Caviezel, he says, winning a lot of games is doable. Teaching these kids there's more to life, that's hard. The streak was never our goal. And we see throughout this whole movie, he's very consistent when it comes to that. And he doesn't want to talk about the streak. He doesn't even want to mention the streak. And it's cool because, like, not only are we seeing action of a football game, which is also shot brilliantly, by the way, but we also see, like, a snapshot of what these kids' lives are actually like. And there's a team meeting where the seniors speak, and they have these commitment cards, and a big thing there is, like, perfect effort. And so you see the different characters, and they're talking about, like, what their teammates' commitment card was and how they're keeping them accountable. And then it, like, flashes to, like, the character actually performing these things on the field. So you see, like, okay, I'm going to make 2 receptions for 10 plus yards this game. And then it cuts to, like, the wide receiver lining up, making a reception, and then breaking off for 10 plus yards. And I think that's really cool. Like, the editing choice, I feel like, was seamless and helped tell the story. There's talk that the streak is their legacy. We see that there's an appreciation for what they accomplished. There are commentators during the games, and through that, and also spectators, we hear about the players. And there's Cam Colvin, number 26. He was a D1 prospect, and he is in the new Jumanji movies. That's how I knew him. It's funny, almost 10 years later, he's still playing a high schooler. Black on crack, I guess. And also number 28, Terrence Kelly, played by Stephen James, who I know from 21 Bridges. And funnily enough, again, almost 10 years later, he was playing an athlete in a movie opposite J.K. Simmons. I think it was called National Championship. Anyways, Terrence Kelly is called the best prospect in the field, and you see it. He's doing that work and cutting and moving and all that. They do it. They win state, and Coach Bob says, we're not asking you to be perfect on every play, but you give a perfect effort from snap to whistle. And afterwards, they're all celebrating, all that stuff. And then there's Tayshawn Lanier, played by Jesse T. Usher, who's in The Boys, and he also was in that new Shaft movie with Richard Roundtree and Samuel L. Jackson. And he's like the cocky one on the team. He's a junior, and he's meeting up with his fellow juniors, and he's like, yo, like, it's our team now. We can do whatever we want, essentially. And he's the one that's, I wouldn't say not taking it seriously, but like he's sort of coasting on his skills because he is nice at what he does. I didn't realize this was like based on a true story, and so I had to keep reminding myself of that at times because it just, later on in the film, they play the number one team in the country. It's like the Poly High out of Long Beach is number one, and they're number two in the nation, and so they're battling for like state supremacy essentially. And Poly High is all black players, and De La Salle is almost all white players with the exception of TK and Cam, who ended up graduating, and now Tayshawn Lanier. I think that's the only black person I saw in the new crop. So I had to remind myself, I was like, yo, this is based on a true story. And also, like, that helped me not turn up. Because I just was like, these black kids on the other team, Poly, like, they're set up as the enemy, which I guess, whatever, like, you play whoever you're in front of. But, like, none of the kids outside of one had any lines, and the only person from the team, not a defensive lineman, that spoke was the coach, and he just was having these like sort of generic sayings on the side of the field. I was just like, all right, whatever. Meanwhile, Coach Bud is having like these impassioned speeches, and I feel like gave time and depth towards their characters, and these black kids just were like an obstacle for De La Salle to overcome. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, like the energy in this film and the camera movement, like it makes you feel like you're in the action. I recently saw a movie, the episode before this, and it was about basketball, and the way they shot it and edited it was horrible. Like you couldn't tell what was going on. Like it felt very distant. You weren't like put into the action, and it was worse than like highlight tapes, because at least highlight tapes you see the score at the bottom right. This was a mess. But on the opposite, with this film, when the game stands tall, you can follow what's happening, and whether that's like with the commentator or like the people on the sidelines commenting, or the people actually on the field talking it out. Like I hadn't felt this way about a football movie since Room of the Titans. And it's dope seeing like the camaraderie between the team, and I felt like it was unique the way it started off, because we sort of started at the end, not the beginning. It didn't start at the beginning of the streak. It started at the what we now know was the end of the streak. And number 34 is Chris Ryan. He's a running back, and he had the opportunity to break the California career touchdown record. And he has like a journal, and he's basically writing it out on some like manifestation type junk. And his dad is ridiculous. Like his dad is one of those, that's disrespectful to LeVar Ball. So I'll say he's one of those people who like are trying to live vicariously through his son, and to the point where he's abusive. Like there's an argument happening in a movie where Chris basically stands up for himself. He's like, "Yo, fam, this record isn't about me. Is about you." And like his dad literally snaps and like puts hands on him and is like, "Yo, you gonna get me this record?" And like Chris cowers, and he's like, "Say it." He's like, "I'm gonna get you the record." Like it's bananas. What I also really loved is like there's so many great actors in this film in various parts, known and unknown to me. But like the icon, Laura Dern, plays Bev, who's Coach Bob's wife, and she reminded me of the wife in the TV show Friday Night Lights. She's the one who's keeping the house together. She's coming with like sage advice and not letting the coach just get off because like I'm just a window dressing essentially, and just here to like further the coach's dreams. Who's like, no, you've been turning down these college coaches and like not discussing it with me. Why? I've been running this for 20 years and I feel like I'm alone. Like, and it's real. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have a son who's also on the team. His name is Danny. And TK brings up like, yo, he's leaving for college, and he saw like, hey, the team is motivated, and Danny's trying to like bring that same motivation back, right? But the dad, after a health scare, like steps away from the team for a while, and Danny's like trying to come to him, being like, yo, how do you think that I can improve my play like this way or that way? And Coach Dad isn't even trying to hear it. Like, he's like, look, how about we go out like on a fishing trip or expedition or whatever? And he's like, really? Like, this whole time that I wanted a dad, I got a coach. But now the one time I need a coach, I get a dad? This is some bull crap. Like, it is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's completely understandable. And I like that they had that moment. I took notes during the movie, and at first I was saying, like, the writing is realistic, like it's how real teens talk, but I disagree now. Tayshawn's character, again, like, he was like the cocky, cocksure wide receiver, right? He's nice, but, like, you see that swagger, and he does a great job of playing it, whatever. But there's one scene when something happens to him, like, and he's surprised, and his first reaction is like, what the heck? And like the way he reacted, like it just was super unrealistic that he wouldn't have cursed at what happened. It's just, it's so jarring that he didn't just like curse. I know they're at a Christian school and all that stuff, but like, he didn't care about that. There's a scene where he's talking about like how he doesn't believe that if you do good, you're going to get good back, and like lists off things like, yo, Cam, your dad lost his job, your mom had a stroke, like all this bull crap happened to you, and like you're doing the right thing, so like all this is crap. But like the fact that Tayshawn didn't curse in that moment, I was just like, really? This is what we doing? Like, y'all can't let one curse fly? Like, y'all, I don't even know if it's PG-13, but like regardless, like one ain't gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that whole confusion for me, like, got confirmed when I found out it was a Christian school, because like the coach is just teaching the Bible like in school. I'm like, what the crap? And they're talking about Luke and all this stuff, and I was like, where they do that at? And then it turns out it's a Christian school. I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But like, yeah, the interpersonal relationships, and again, since I didn't realize that it was a true story, it made it even sadder, like what happened to TK, Terrence Kelly. Like, he actually did get murdered similarly in the same way for the same reason. Like, that's really heartbreaking that he was basically committed to Oregon, and that never happened because somebody took his life through gun violence. And like, I'm not sure exactly what happened to Cam, but it seems like, if I believe the movie, like he ended up going to Oregon and like changing his life and his family around, which is dope. Last thing I'm going to say is it was cool that Coach Bob or Coach Dad or Coach Lad, whatever you want to call him, like, we see he's not perfect. He has a hard time balancing work and life, and that is shown when, like, he almost died. And I think it was a combination of stress and, like, him smoking cigarettes, which was surprising me. I was like, oh, snap, this nigga was just preaching. Not saying Christians can't smoke cigarettes, but I was just surprised that he was smoking cigarettes. And nigga ended up, like, I don't want to say stroke, but it was like they called it the widowmaker. Like, the thing he was going through, it was an 80% total blockage of, I believe, the heart. And so, like, the smoking caught up with him for real. And so it was nice to see, like, this person isn't just like a perfect saint, like, espousing wisdom on some, like, Yoda type, but, like, that he's, like, a real person, that he has stuff to to fix. That was dope. Yeah, all in all, it was a good movie. I think outside of, like, the main cast of characters, the assistant coach, he's my favorite. Nigga reminded me of Arn Anderson with the balding hair and, like, that energy. Like, he's stout and fiery. He reminded me of the pro wrestler Arn Anderson in the Four Horsemen. And he didn't sugarcoat it. Like, he knew that the players would be hounded by everybody about the end of the streak. And, like, when Bellevue beat them and ended the streak, they gave him the ring. They were like, yo, y'all really thought it was just going to be sweet. Like, y'all thought y'all were really going to just continue this streak without really working as hard as you possibly can. And then we see the journey of how it went from a losing streak to then, I believe they won a state championship. So, yeah, I say this is a good movie. And I enjoyed it. I recommend it.